And we're back for the men's 1,500 meters. And this is the second round after the first round has gone. And we have the Netherlands skater Rosen at the top of the leaderboard with 1:45.26, and Wagner's with a 1:45.40, and Ben Donnelly with a 1:45.68.
And in fourth, Nick Goblin with a 1:46.62, which was a PB for him.
And Nick Goblin with a 1:46.62, and Shunshi Nakamura with a 1:46.97. These men that are coming up next have a lot of times to compete against, and so we'll see if they can make it up to the top of that leaderboard. Up first, we have Martin Corbett from Canada against Bruno-Olivier Brabant. And Martin is starting off. He had a great first fall of the season. He was competing on the World Cup circuit here in Calgary and in Salt Lake City in the 1,500 meters.
And those were his first World Cups to date, so that was very exciting for him.
Off to a good start, and he is coming in through that first 300 meters at a 24.02, and for Brabant, a 25.13.
Martin is very involved in the skating community, not only as a skater, but he helps coach the Special Olympics program here at the Oval on Sundays. And this year he got a lot of skaters involved in a social night for Special Olympics, and we did many fun games and something that brought skaters together as well as other athletes, which was always a fun time.
Martin Corbett is currently skating with Todd McClennans. I had the pleasure of skating with him when he was training with Bart Schouten, and I was with Mike Crow. We were on many training camps together. Martin has seen big improvements throughout the year, and we'll hope to see a good, smooth race. We want him to stay nice and low here. He looks very relaxed. His lap time at a 26.63, and then 28.19, so a little bit of a drop off there. And Bruno with a 32.88. So he is suffering a little bit in this race, which is not a surprise to see in the 1,500 meters.
Second pair coming in with 1 lap to go. Pretty even keel there. They'll race out to beat their pair and get that fastest time as possible.
You see the momentum slowing down a little bit. The skaters just fighting to the finish, just trying to keep their legs moving, and they feel like jello basically at this point. So to just stay on your feet is a feat in itself.
Now one of the pairs is catching up to this first pair. This Nicolas Hiller, I believe, finished in a 1:52.67,
which is a PB for Hiller. And Hannigan is just off his PB, as well as Martin Corbett.
In this next quartet, the first skater on the inside, we have Jean-Christophe from Alberta and Graeme Fish from Saskatchewan. In the next pair behind them, in the same quartet, we have Vincent Bertrand from Quebec, and on the outer, Laurent Marcotte from Quebec as well.
This is the end of a long weekend for some of these skaters, many of them skating multiple distances before. We had the 500s and the 1000s, as well as 5K and 10K, so there are some fatigue in these legs. And this 1,500 meter race is hard to do on its own. So we might see a little bit of hurt, but these skaters still trying to finish the season off strong and getting some PBs to get that oval gift prize at the end of the season.
That's right. Knowing it's your last race, you might have that mass start later on, but for most people, this will be their last race, so you just got to give it your all, but always remember that technique, because that's what's going to get you to the finish line in the fastest time possible.
We have Graeme Fish with a 26.21 opener and a 25.66 for Lataille, and for Bertrand we have a 24.98 and a 24.60 for Marcotte.
Quebec skaters on that backstretch are nice and close. One behind's getting a nice draft here coming into that third corner.
You see Crispin on the backstretch yelling at his skaters to go hard and to go fast. They're holding a lap board there telling the skaters what lap they just skated, and they have these goals going into these races, knowing the lap times they need for the PB. So the skaters seeing those lap boards and either telling them that they started off at a good pace, too fast, or they might need to pick it up a little bit, which is quite hard to do in a 1,500-meter race because you are going all out at this point.
All 4 skaters having a 28-second first lap, which is about 3 to 4 seconds off the pace of, including that first 300-meter of the top of the leaderboard. So most of these skaters are a bit younger, just kind of starting to learn how to perfect this race.
These guys still fighting hard to the finish. They would crush me any day in this 1,500 meters. 156.43, and for Graeme Fish, 153.27. And here comes our last skaters coming into the finish, using the hands on the legs to try to just propel you to the end there. And Bertrand finishing with a 157.15 and Marcotte with a 155.79. Up next, we have Cooper Hunter, and then Jean-Christophe Pouliot, and Jeff Ross in the next one, and Jake Weideman, who is the younger brother of Isabel Weideman, who we saw skating this weekend and at World Cups this season. They're both very tall skaters, the Weidemans, and they specialize in the longer distances.
Cooper has been over to Europe to train, but has come back to Calgary this season. He is part of the next gen group here through SSD and the Pathway. So we'll see if he can pull off a good one. He is more known for the shorter distances as he's a sprinter. Jeff Ross, also more known as a sprinter. He recently was in the final with Gilmore Jr. in Edmonton at the Quarterbond race-off and beat my brother Jamie Gregg in the sprint in the semifinal. He's got that quick foot speed, so we'll see if he can get up to speed and try to keep those laps nice and steady for the rest of the race.
Jeff Ross opening in a 24.20 and Jake Weideman 25.29. A little bit of a slower start, but you'll see him building speed throughout. Cooper Hunter finishing his first lap at a 27.53, and close behind him is Jean-Christophe with a 27.73.
The squad's going a bit faster with the 27 lap, second lap.
We have a lot of hurt in the legs for Jean-Christophe. He's already got his hands on his legs, and there's one lap to go. You want to kind of push through that pain. It's going to be tough for him. He'll be losing quite a bit of speed here, but hopefully he can finish off strong.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like when you're hiking, you want to use those hands to push off the legs to give that extra push, but usually not till the very last few strides does that really come in handy, because you still want that driving force with your arms forward.
Cooper Hunter finishing off strong. Right behind him, Jean-Christophe. 152.54 for Cooper and 155.36.
That's the PB for Jean-Christophe. Jeff and Jake are coming into the finish. You see Jake's finishing nice and strong as he is more of a long distance specialist. Jake with a 152, and we have his PB as 156, so that is a great race for Jake. And Jeff Ross, 154, that is also a personal best, so both of those.
You see a little high five from the coaches for both those skaters as they are both ecstatic about their race. That is a tough race to do, but they both seem to fight through to the finish and push each other in it, both finishing off with PBs. Next race we have Connor Howe and Sam Pollock, and then we have in the next one, we have Kaleb Muller and Keegan Christ.
It's the race of Alberta in this first pair of this quad here.
Off they go, building up that speed.
Oh, both members of the provincial team, as you can see, their Alberta blue and white skin suits here.
They are part of the Oval program. As you see that we have Jeff Katura and Justin Warsalewicz on the backstretch coaching these skaters, both veterans to speed skating and have been in many World Cups, and Justin Warsalewicz being a long distance skater and in the team pursuit as well.
Keegan is a short track speed skater. He's been training here and just competed in the trials for short track, but also testing out what he can do on this long track, as the cross training is great, switching both short track to long track to short track.
He is the brother of Callie Christ, and Callie Christ is on Team Crossover, and she was competing in the World Cup in the fall and the winter.
And also a 2014 Olympian.
You see Keegan there with both his hands on his back there, just trying to save a little bit of energy. The frequency is still high for these skaters coming into their last lap. A little bit of hurt for Sam, as he's been doing a lot of coaching actually with Team Alberta, with ASA, and with the Calgary Speed Skating Club. He is a great coach and taking the things that he's learning in speed skating and applying them to helping other little kids get better.
Keegan looking fairly strong, coming through with 1 lap to go, using both those arms down. It's a much different feel in this 1,500 meter long track as opposed to short track. Both very tough races, but the lactic acid accumulates much faster in this race, as the goal is to just be as fast as you can instead of just being head-to-head the winner.
Connor Howe finishing with a 150-153, which is a big PB for him. And for Sam Pollock, 157 was his old PB, and his new PB now being a 156.67.
Keegan not skating too many long track 1,500 meters, just did a 152, his old PB 209, so that's a great race for him, obviously coming off those trials where he was peaked, so putting this last week of training in before the off season starts to get back on that short track.
Here we have a skater from Great Britain, Scott Anderson, and Simon Coates in pair 17. Right up behind him we have Taylor Hartleb and Max Heilich.
Lots of colorful suits out there on the line. Most skaters in that Canada suit, if they have one, the mostly black and red stripes means they've been on the national team or competed at Junior Worlds, as some of these guys have in that first group. Here you see Max in the Alberta suit and Tyler in a suit of his own.
A fast start with Scott with a 24.79 and Simon with a 25.13. Most of these pairs are evenly matched here with their previous PVs, so they'll mostly be fighting against each other in the whole race. You'll usually see them pretty close to each other.
Again, this is the second seating of the 1,500 meters. Up on the leaderboard is Rosen with a 145, Wagons with a 145 for Donnelly, 145.68, and Gopelin in fourth with 146.62. So some pretty fast times posted today, and we still have a number of quartets left to go for all the males.
Scott Anderson is a skater from Great Britain, and he's been training in Insel under Marnix Wieberdink, and he was also skating with Avi Ennis right now, is on the backstretch coaching him. He is looking to come to Calgary to come and skate.
Obviously, we're not pros. Tamir and I have known each other a long time, and it's easy to get each other start giggling. We apologize for that. But let's get back to these races. We're coming into the finish. You see those hands on the legs, and that's Scott Anderson finishing in front of Simon Coates with a final time of 154.15, and Simon with a 155.45. That is a personal best for Simon and possibly for Scott. Second pair is coming in. You can see that face. You're in extreme pain. Most people just want to lie on the floor when you're done this race.
Usually in this 1,500 meters, the garbage cans are strategically placed around the track as some of these skaters build this lactic acid up through their legs, and sometimes it just hits your stomach and makes you feel ill. So we have these garbage cans placed around this track. We have the next pair coming up here, and we have Cameron Mason and Robert Winter. And then right behind them is Stefan Kilari and Samuel Carpenter.
This first pair off to a good start, getting up that speed. The second pair on the inside, as mentioned, was Stefan Kilari, and he is all the way from India, who's also been training a little bit in Calgary.
He actually has some pretty good technique here. I'm not quite sure who is his coach, but he is looking quite strong. Maybe an inline skater. Very smooth and relaxed, and that is exactly what you want. Ooh, a little slip there. That is exactly what you want in this race, as you want to save as much energy as you can and be as efficient as possible. These guys racing against the clock here, racing against their previous times that they have set throughout the last couple years, trying to break their PBs and set some new ones. Word on the street is he holds the Indian record, and right now he is going to smash that record. Direct quote from Greg Planert.
Inside information up here in the booth.
Oh, you see that pain on his face there with 1 lap to go. He has to give it his all for this race. Slowing down just a little bit, but hopefully he can hold on and stay on his feet.
Gritting that teeth. You gotta keep breathing, get that air all to your muscles. Keep those legs moving, and their first pair is crossing the finish line.
Final times for Robert Winter, 1:57.97, and for Cameron Mason, a 2:73.
That's a good PB for Robert Winter. Now we have Kilari coming to the finish line. You can tell he's in a bit of pain, and he finishes with a final time of 1:56.23, and that is a new Indian record for the 1,500 meters. So he must be proud of that. It takes a lot of work and commitment to come to a whole different country, train in a sport where not many people know what speed skating may be like there, as inline skating is the more popular sport.
Next up, we have Adam from Ontario and Cody Miller from Alberta.
The first pair of the 19 quarters is underway. The second pair lining up on that line behind them is Giles Schutt from Netherlands and Frank Roth from Alberta on the outer.
And we have the second pair of this quartet heading off. That first pair is starting off with a 25.89 and 24.47. Again,
all these skaters looking to post a personal best time this season and of their career, since this is the last 1,500-meter race on this fast ice that they'll get to skate before the off-season starts.
This first pair kind of etching in on the second pair there. They'll be able to see them as they come around the corner and kind of get a little bit of chase on to the next pair there. There we go. And these next skaters coming in to get their lap times with 2 laps to go.
The Dutch skater will be going over top of the Alberta skater in that second pair. This first pair coming in with 1 lap to go. As you see, he was from the outside going on to the inside.
Oh, a little bit of crossover tightness over there on the back stretch. They were pretty close to each other. They didn't quite click skate, so that's good.
These two are keeping their frequency up. It's so important to keep those legs moving. You don't want to slow down your tempo too much.
You see those shoulders dropping, trying to hold on to everything that you got. The skaters going in, so much hurt in the legs, but they finished off hard and strong. Throughout the years, they'll keep getting better at this distance as they get a little more training in and a little bit more of a base.
So both personal best times for that first pair. Let's see this second pair. Schutt coming in with a 1,500-meter time of 1:54, which is a PB for sure.
Yeah, 1:54 and a 2-minute 27, which is a PB for both of those pairs.
Only 6 more quartets going, so let's cheer these athletes on from home.
Joshua Hathaway from Alberta on the inner and Kaleb Howe from Ontario on the outer. Their coaches on the back stretch getting ready to give these lap times and to yell loud. Most of these coaches are probably losing their voice by the end of this weekend from cheering on their skaters and making sure that they give them the encouragement they need in these races. It's hard work for these coaches as well, as we see them out here all day long on the ice. Second pair is off, and it is Jonah coming in from Ontario and Garrett from Manitoba. Joshua Hathaway, opening time 26.90, and Kaleb Howe with 26.56. Jonah coming in with a 26.13, and Garrett 25.77. These guys are all quite evenly matched here, skating pretty similar times. It's going to be an interesting race here, and we'll see what they can do coming up. Joshua coming in lap time 30.38, and Kaleb 29.44, and Jonah with a 29.66, and Garrett 29.43. These guys are fighting hard. You see that leg angle coming up and a little bit of pushing back to the side, but both their arms are down. They're fighting and swinging those arms, trying to keep their momentum going.
Just keeping that head up, looking forward is hard when your whole body is hurting in these last moments of this difficult race. You can see they're breathing hard, getting all that oxygen in.
It's a world of hurt out there.
And they're coming in for the finish.
Strong finish by these skaters here. Final times for Hathaway, 2:01.61, and for Kaleb Howe, 1:59.09.
Big personal best for Kaleb there. The second pair is now coming into the line.
And finishing off with a 1:59.09.
PB for Jonah.
And for Gledhill, 2:01.87. these last couple pairs are on the ice that has been skated on by quite a few skaters here. You can see a few lines in the ice here, but the ice is still in such good condition here in Calgary. We have great ice makers, and they keep the ice from chipping away, and we have the temperature at the oval on the ice at a perfect temperature here this morning.
This next quartet, we have Cooper Emin from Nova Scotia on the inner, and on the outer from Alberta, Vaughn Thibault. Coming in behind is a skater from Mongolia, Magat Batar, and from BC on the outer is Tom Kitzer.
And off they go, sprinting away. One of them wearing an old national team skin suit. That must be from one of their coaches previously, as it is from an Olympic Games, I believe. All right, Cooper starting off with a 25.50 and Thibault with a 26.78.
See that Mongolian flag hanging over the boards as he comes out of the corner. That's a great spot for extra motivation when you want to just keep those legs moving and fight through this race.
You see all the skaters, their teammates on the edge of the mats cheering their friends on, telling them to keep going hard and to keep pushing to the side. Any kind of encouragement you can get in this race helps. The louder you yell, the more encouraging it is.
And we can see their frequency is slowing down a little bit as this race moves on. There's one lap for our first pair here. We're coming in to the last lap now for this Mongolian skater.
30.09 his last lap and a 32.43. This Mongolian skater is on a good race right now. That's a great time coming in with the final lap. And we finish off with Cooper here with a 157.93. And Vaughn Thibault coming in the finish all the way. 2:08.74.
And the skater from Mongolia seemed to be very happy with that result with a final time of 1:56.
That is a 7-second PB apparently for the Mongolian skater.
That is very, very impressive, as these, in this sport, tenths of a second are what usually make the difference. So 7 seconds, he definitely put together a great race there. In this next quartet, we have Mark Canvin from Manitoba on the inner and Raphael Grignon from Quebec on the outer lane. We're well into that first corner. The second pair is on the start line. We have Matthias from Tamara, the Switzerland, and Steve from the United States.
A good start for these men here at a 26.18 and 25.16. You don't see a lot of difference from the top skaters to right now in their openers. Although if you see a 23, that's a good start off. So these men starting off with a 25.16 is quite good. Matthias with a 27.19 and Steve with a 27.08.
A lot of skaters will have a few key words in mind as they're going through this race, even in the 500 and 1,000, but more so in the long ones. You don't want your thoughts to get the best of you, and so even just staying low or keep that tempo up in those corners, building the corners. A few things like that are easy points to focus on. Your coach might remind you of them on the back stretch, or simply some skaters just like to be yelled at.
What were a few of your cues that you had there, Jessica?
Well, in the 500, it was always arm swing to try to not keep them in nice and tight. Stay low, obviously. I think that's kind of a key one for everyone. And the 1,000-meter tempo.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you definitely want to have that in the 1,500-meter race. You need to go all out. Otherwise, you will be losing that speed at the end of the race, and that's precious seconds you don't want to give up.
And the first pair just crossed the finish line. Mark Canvin with a time of 2:01.05, and Grignon with 2 minutes 48 seconds.
Some international skaters coming in through the finish here. Matthias with a time of 2:02.69, and Steve with 2:01.83.
The Americans have a great training facility down in the States. There's a few indoor ovals, Salt Lake being the most famous one after the Olympics there, where the Canadian team goes down and does a lot of high-altitude training camps on and off the ice. And Milwaukee also has an indoor oval where Smyrna and I skated lots of North Americans when we were many, many years ago. Yeah.
Milwaukee is a little bit of a colder arena to skate in, and it's a little bit smaller than this Olympic oval here. So the times were just a little bit slower there, but Salt Lake City was always a fun track to skate at. And if you ever went to Changchun, China, it is the identical oval to the Salt Lake City oval.
So in this next pair of the third last quartet, we have Matthew Laxton from Ontario and Jack Debert from Alberta.
Off they go. Strong starts for these two. You see there we have our coaches on the back stretch. We have Mike Ireland, who was our Canadian 500-meter and 1,000-meter speed skater. He competed in many Olympics, in the Vancouver and Torino Olympics. And Nagell.
Looks like there's just one skater in this second pair, which would be Hunter from Manitoba on the outer. Looks like there's a scratch from Mark Golden. So it's always an advantage to have that pair racing with you. Not that you want to base your whole race off them, but just to see them coming out of that corner and to get that draft. It makes a world of a difference. A lot of the biggest, best races are the ones that are fortunate enough to get that draft, especially from a bigger person. So there's a little bit of a luck in long track, but mainly it's just who can put out the fastest time skating on their own.
Yeah, it's always fun to chase down those skaters if you see them up ahead of you. Some skaters have different strengths than others, where there could be some sprinters racing the 1,500 and some longer distance skaters. So the longer distance skater will be reeling in that sprinter throughout the whole race, and the sprinter will be trying to hold off that long distance skater.
So there's one lap to go for this first pair. You can see a little bit of a hurt. They're just trying to keep that frequency up, and this lone skater is coming into that one lap to go.
Still skating strong. Here are these final skaters coming through, keeping those legs moving. There we go, right to the line of 1:59.09 for Matthew, and for Jack a 2:02.38.
That's a huge PB for Matt Laxton there. He should be very happy with that
almost 10-second PB. That is just great. I can't remember the last time I got a 10-second PB, but...
Me neither. Hunter coming in with a 2:04. And that is also a huge personal best. So great race from these guys. And coming up in this next quartet, we have Olav from Norway on the inside, followed by Ryan from Alberta on the outside.
And Oliver coming up behind him with Ian from Alberta. We got an interesting suit coming up there in the second pair. Looks like a little design on his leg there.
Again, these guys getting up that speed in that first 300 meters. The coaches will give them their split. They'll know if they've gone a bit faster or slower on that first pace they were hoping for, but either way, they just got to keep going, use the speed that they've gained in that first part of the race.
The excitement of coming into finale and coming onto this ice is great for these skaters, knowing that there's fast ice here and that there's PBs that are being able to get broken here. So these guys are vying for those PBs and racing to finish off the season strong, as a lot of work goes into speed skating, and it's a 11 out of 12 month kind of sport where you're training most of the months of the year. Here we have those skaters coming in for their first lap. Olav with 30.68 and Ryan with a 31.35. Oliver with a 30.55 and Ian a little slower with a 31.75. This skater here on the inner, I believe, Olav, he looks like he is an inline skater just with the way that he's skating. 32.76 for his final lap time. He's 12.3 seconds behind that leaderboard, but he is on a good one for himself. Ryan Dodak with a 32.99, just staying underneath that 33 there.
As these last few 1,500 meters are finishing up, we can see on the inside track there's a lot of familiar faces who are getting ready for the
Rust to Bust
race, which is coming up this afternoon, which we'll talk to you about in a little bit. There's first pair is done in Olav 2:02, which is a huge personal best for him, and Ryan with a 2:05, which is over a 10-second personal best time. That is just quite
Congratulations, guys. What a great way to finish off your season. There we are with Oliver with a 2:04.39 and Ian with a 2:11.21.
Great races by that quartet, and now we have
our final pair of the day for the 1,500 meter men's. In this inner lane, we see Kees Komen from Alberta and Rob Cunning from Alberta as well. And skating solo, Max Brandt from Ontario. Nerves probably getting the best of these skaters here as they try to stay calm on the line, so they're nice and relaxed. I just remember a teammate always saying in the 1,500 meters just to take a really big breath before you go down into that start position, just to relax your shoulders and to be able to stay smooth. Max Brent on his own. There was a scratch here, so he is skating solo going into that first inner. Kees with a 27.16 and Rob Cunning with a 27.48.
So again, this is the last quartet of the day for the 1,500 men. On the leaderboard, we still have Rusin with a 1:45.26, Wagness with a 1:45.40, and our own Canadian Ben Donnelly in third, 1:45.68.
Be sure to stay tuned. Coming up, we have that Rust to Bust race with the Branch Out Foundation, where we have retired skaters coming from the last 1 to 5 to 7 years of retirement. They're coming back just to skate and raise money for the Branch Out Foundation. It's going to be very exciting seeing these guys paired off with some past rivalries. It's a 500-meter race, so it'll be fun and exciting. There's going to be lots of music and cheering going on.
Mike Phillips, Crystal's dad, who is the founder of this organization, and he used to start all of us when we were younger. He's going to be starting them, so not only are the skaters old or new to what am I trying to say?
They're all old.
They're all old, but they're all in this sport. But the officials are coming back. Retired officials and skaters are going to be participating. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We have a few people dressing up for this race as well, so
be sure to tune in at 1:30 for these races.
This last pair coming into a finish. Still looking strong. Excited to cross that finish line and be done with the 1,500-meter race.
And a nice stretch to the finish line there, reaching out with their skates. We have Kees Kuhlman coming in with a 2:09.54 and Rob Cunning with a 2:11.81.
Max Brent finishing by himself. And he is finishing with a 2:09.86. Congratulations, men. You did great. And to our top three skaters, Rosin, Wagnes, and Donnelly.
That's a wrap for the men's 1,500 meters of finale. We're going to have a, it looks like.
Quick lunch break. Oh, and we have a reskate, possibly. Oh, out of competition.
Oh.
And we're wrapping it up.
Be sure to tune in at 1:30. There's going to be 13 pairs of retired skaters battling it out with past rivalries, even some siblings battles. Lucas Mikowski, the gold medal winner of the Vancouver Olympics, is in the races, and many other accomplished skaters and Oval alumni. So be sure to tune in after this short break. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Cheers.
Peace out.